Lovely house. How long before you let that down? Huh?
Should we get something on that side? This is stuff as well.
Yeah.
On that side, this is stuff as well.
Yeah. Get that slab, yeah.
Hold on. Just to make sure that crate stays light, you know.
You want a smaller piece?
No, that's a good one.
Just give it to me again.
Right. Stand by now. Off you go.
We'll start by talking to Dr. Bill Crow, the IRS, who's been involved in the fires that the tests we carried out here today and the previous test last April. Maybe you give us some comment on what he thought of the happenings there today.
Well, we've done two tests, as you quite rightly point out. We have the measured temperatures of the previous test, and of course we know that they compare pretty closely with the furnace tests of 476 tests. We haven't exactly correlated the figures we've taken on today's test, but at spot checks they're pretty close to the furnace temperatures again. Regarding the end effect or the result of the test, an inspection of the attic afterwards, which I think we've all seen, shows that the attic on one side is quite charred after something like 30 minutes of fire, whereas the attic on the other side is virtually in mint condition.
Yes, right. And would you see the test carried out today as being relatively conclusive from the point of view of the aspects of fire spread and the structural behaviour in roof structures?
Yes, the tests carried out today indicate clearly the technical merits of the product under test, the Firebar product.
I see. And we've Peter Jackman here from Trada, Timber Research and Development in the UK, who also is an expert in his field. In testing, what sort of observations did you make today?
I think many. I think it's so nice to see this correlation between what I'm doing, which is furnace testing all the time, and actually seeing a real fire. And I'm sure in many ways it's more meaningful to do this sort of test. I was very reluctant to actually go under the protected roof at one stage. I know how unpredictable fire can be, and to be honest, I was reluctant to go under, but everybody else seemed to be, so I went in. And I was really quite shaken that there was absolutely nothing happening in that roof. And I think, the test itself has demonstrated to me what I felt is sad that we had to demonstrate again, because I feel looked at as a product, as a system, it's got to work. I think it's a shame that we've had to invest or you've had to invest so much money in order to sort of reprove it a second time. I think the first test was pretty convincing anyway.
So in your mind, it was a conclusive test?
I think it did everything that I would have expected, really. The system has got to work. It's got to be so tolerant of ill-fitting roofs and all the rest of it. It did just really what I would have expected to do. That's not to say today hasn't been worthwhile. It has, but it does seem a shame to have to demonstrate a second time.
Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Hopefully the Minister's listening in. We have also here Ron Cunnington from the GLC, who's involved in the draft regulations.
Regulations generally, yes.
Yes, in the UK. I've been looking personally to see more fire engineering, particularly in roof structures, being brought in line with structural engineering, thereby bringing together cavity barriers in conjunction with structural control. How would you feel our performance was today in regards to structural control?
I liked it very much. What impressed me was the neatness of everything, the way it would cut off so neatly along that right-hand edge. And the obvious sort of, as you predicted, that the fascia would lift up, and at the eaves particularly, that the things were lifting up, the gap was developing above the mineral wool. It throws great suspicion on the traditional way of sealing party walls. I think from the regulation point of view, which is my main interest, it's difficult to, we do ban timber battens going across party walls anyway, and we have an awkward arrangement of asbestos-type battens or metal battens going across, which everybody grumbles about, and this is such a neat solution to the problem. And also, I think it lends itself to where you're retiling a roof with different tiles, or slates one side, tiles the other, and marrying up the two. This is a very neat arrangement for that, apart from when there's a fire occurring. But I was particularly impressed by the different performances of the two eaves, the eaves.
Yeah. That's fine. And we have Dr. Bob Lomez from Bradford University, who's been studying the problems of fire spread and its other various aspects of fire for the last 5 years. What comments would you have to make, Bob?
Well, my main interest has been in actually seeing a house burned to destruction. It's very rare that these sort of tests are carried out. And certainly, I've been mainly concerned with looking at the training aspects of fire spread, because for a long while the brigades have been aware that fires spread in an unpredictable manner. And they have a major problem in training officers in how to anticipate how a fire is going to spread so that they can fight it effectively. And certainly when I first talked to you a few days ago, it was very encouraging to find somebody who could actually explain a number of the unpredictable things which have having to go to great lengths to reproduce in the simulations we've been producing. And certainly having said that, and then having asked you to predict how the structure was going to behave, the video I took of that, I literally was watching things unfold exactly as you had predicted they were going to happen. I think you've gone a long way towards making it, fire spread, a predictable science rather than the black art that it seems to have been for quite a long while.
Yeah.
And I think the most impressive thing of the test was the way in which the barrier held back smoke. Because I was one of the people who did dash in to have a look at if there was any smoke coming through, and I did in fact take the fireman from the appliance to drag me out in case it fell on me. But when we went in and had a look inside the roof, and in fact filmed inside the roof when the fire was at its height, and there was no smoke coming through into that roof. The only smoke that was coming off the roof was channeling under the tiles. It wasn't going through the felt. And certainly smoke is the definite killer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can hold that back as well, you're in a position to save a lot of lives.
Fine.
As
Right.
regards the other side, I'd like to comment to Mr. Cullington and add to what he said. Certainly the smoke was billowing into that side. The structure deformed, it opened a gap, and the smoke went straight through. If you were on that side and you were asleep, you would have been dead.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
I think that was really irrespective of the timber battens being there. It was the gap that developed.
Yes.
It wasn't fire carried by the timber battens so much as through the gap between the battens.
Well, the smoke in the centre compartment was under considerable pressure before the roof
Yeah.
went, and it was just literally gushing into the...
Of course, the vent and the fire ban are performed very scientifically and very accurately.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had some quite good videos of the vent and the way it was actually blowing off, and certainly it seemed to be channeling away the heat in the manner you'd predicted.
It may not look immediately obvious.
Okay, now, theory, yeah? Okay. Three and up another pound. Okay, I'll check. That's it. Right, one for you two and I'll raise you one. Try your husband.
How often have I wished in the middle of a game of cards, as I get deeper and deeper into trouble, that the whole house would go up in flames and we could start the whole game up again somewhere else? Well, the whole point of this bizarre introduction is to show that whatever else happens to the house next door, and we're all well aware that a nice little blaze is building up there, this one will remain untouched and intact. Pity, really. But so confident are these people that a new system to prevent the spread of fire from one house to another will work, that they're prepared to play on. Well, to help demonstrate the effectiveness of this new system, you'll notice that there's another house on the other side of the one on fire. That uses a standard building method to protect it from the spread of fire. And we'll see how that copes shortly. First of all, let's have a look at the problem. Now, it's worth remembering here that whenever fire spreads from one terraced house to another, from one semi-detached house to another, the fire tends to travel in the space just underneath the roof. Now, assume, if you will, that this whole unit is in fact two houses. There's the dividing line, and there in fact is the party wall. It runs all the way down. Now, in the space between the party wall and the sarking felt above, you've got fire-resistant rock wool. And similarly, in the space between the sarking felt and the tiles themselves, you've got more rock wool. Now, this roofing arrangement is a conventional one. It's not the only type of fire prevention system around, but it's typical of millions of homes in the British Isles. The only drawback with this is, if you notice these continuous wooden battens, they go the whole length of the terrace, as does this sarking felt, which is quite inflammable as well. Now, if this house next door catches fire, the roof buckles or even collapses, what's going to happen is that these battens will be wrenched clear, creating enough air, enough space for fire to travel across. So, what our Irish inventor has done is to interrupt the continuous flow of these battens with lengths of steel. And similarly, he's interrupted the flow of this sarking felt as well, with a shaped steel arrangement here, sits on top of the party wall, and on top of that bit of steel, you've also got more fire-resistant rock wool that goes up to the tiles. Now again, what happens is, if this roof collapses because of a fire, these wooden battens won't be wrenched clear. Instead, these lengths of steel will come away, leaving these battens intact, leaving the whole roof structure intact, so protecting it from the blaze. Well, it's a nice theory, isn't it? But will it work? and that is very, very impressive. That house, well, clearly that's a goner. But look here next door. This building, which uses a standard fire prevention method, that house is now ablaze. Finally, let's have a look at the one that I came out of in the first place. This one, completely intact. I think the only smoke in here has come from the front door anyway, and all this despite temperatures of 800 degrees centigrade next door. Meanwhile, back inside the protected house, the only game in town is reaching fever pitch. That looks improving too. Straight.
Full house. Aces on the roof, and that's no joke.
Wall. The house on the right is separated by the fire bars. It can be used as a partition for connecting houses or to section off public buildings which would contain a fire to one area. The inventor, Noel Manning, is trying to prove here that the fire will spread to the house on the left through the normal partition, but it won't penetrate the fire bar system. After 15 minutes, the house on the right was still okay. But smoke was starting to billow through the house on the left-hand side. The IRS were certainly impressed by the demonstration.
You've only got to look at the structure and see that we've got a very clear cut-off point between the fire compartment and the right-hand side compartment, whereas we've got quite an irregular and interrupted one on the left-hand side.
Do you think it has a future in the international market?
I would think so, yes. It is an answer to a problem that exists in building, the problem of sealing the party wall to the roof.
Will it mean extra cost in building?
It will mean marginally extra cost in building. I think at the moment you're talking of something like 150 or 175 pounds added on to the cost of a house, which of course the percentage is very small. It's a very small price to pay for the insurance of increased safety.
And the fire bar is an Irish invention.
I think that we probably should be going.
That's time to evacuate the
Just jump for it, man.
Hell yes. Oh, thank Jesus. Thank you, God. Oh, my God. Oh, no, my God. Oh.
So you're talking about all of those units, which were, of course, clearly under construction. But, wow, I mean, something like that, when it's just all wood, is just going to just ignite in flames so quickly.
Okay, Art, we appreciate the perspective there from IHD. Again, if you are just now tuning in, here's the preliminary information we are getting from the Houston Fire Department. You are looking at a live picture from Sky IHD of an apartment complex under construction in the Montrose area at the cross streets of West Dallas and Marconi here. Excuse me again. At this point, this building was not occupied. It was under construction, and it is also 1 block south of Allen Parkway, very much a populated area, and you can see the enormous plumes of black smoke that it is sending into the Houston skyline. Just another vantage point there.
Noel Manning is another fire consultant who has been working in the area for 30 years. He was one of the first to detect problems in Priory Hall.
We would estimate that the speed in which the fire travelled through the buildings, that would indicate that probably in as little as 10 to 15 minutes you would have had smoke and poisonous gases moving through the buildings.
And you're performing a test here, a smoke
Yes.
test on them?
Yes.
And what is that?
It'll show to indicate to us that the smoke can travel in the cavities and into the roof spaces and across from one roof to the other, because there's no proper fire protection, no certifiable fire protection.
And if there was certifiable fire protection as you lay it out...
stop it.
Right. We set up 2 cameras in adjoining attics on the terrace. The smoke that was being pumped into one was soon visible in the neighbouring attic. We saw there the smoke went through from one attic into
Yes.
the other in a matter of minutes.
Yes.
Noel, that is supposed to take up to 60 minutes.
60 minutes structural integrity and fire resistance.
And in terms of smoke inhalation, carbon monoxide, how long does it take for somebody to die once they start inhaling?
Somebody as big as me, I'm 6'3", I'm 18 stone, give or take a pound or two, and I can tell you now, one inhalation and I'd be totally disorientated, and I probably looking at death within a minute and a half to 3 minutes.